first of all, there's a basic biological need to understand how the systems of the body age with time. So the intrinsic drivers of the ageing process. I think the more that we understand about intrinsic ageing, the more we have insight into potential methodologies which we can intervene. And I think a lot of that is not about living for longer, but it's for living healthier for longer.
Stem cells,
yeah,
everything like that. I think that everybody's going to be living a lot longer.
Why are they trying to do that when it's so obviously an increase in population? Like,
yeah, I would take anything that was going in the way of pills to get me through.
It'd be great if they could improve the quality of life, not the quantity.
We don't know if aloes is anti-aging, but if you get a cut, well, home, you just cut the aloes, put it on the cut, and it holds it together. Nothing from a bottle,
aloe
you know.
vera.
Yeah,
the plant.
Off the
the
plant,
yes.
the juice of
Yeah.
okay.
I think ageing is incredibly important, and I think scientists in general, biological scientists, are seeing the potential in ageing because, you know, as we know, the population of the world is you know, becoming older, our lifespans are increasing, and with that increased age there are problems associated with it.
It is the success story of the 20th century, all living longer and healthier lives. A great success story of the 20th century, great problem, great challenge for the 21st. We're all living longer, but therefore there's more of us in later life, and you have all these diseases of later life.
I don't think it's very natural.
Yeah, there's a it doesn't take an idiot to look at a correlation between like the population growing and the age rising, because at the end there's going to be a tipping point. No matter how sophisticated we are in living and surviving, like there's already 7 billion people on the planet.
In this section on the biological process of ageing, we also spoke to people about their relationship to cosmetic interventions and anti-aging promises from cosmetics companies.
I wouldn't have surgical intervention because for me it's about accepting, you know, being and accepting where you are at particular times. So.
No.
Absolutely, without question. No. If I had the money, I would have a facelift tomorrow.
You don't need it. Why should getting older, which is a totally normal, natural thing, why should it be a crime?
Well, I would never have any.
I wouldn't.
Sure,
either.
I wouldn't.
No,
even if I had loads of money.
Or me.
I don't think I'd use anti-aging cream.
No, I wouldn't use anti-aging cream. So I'm looking forward to wrinkles. I think wrinkles add character.
Oh my God. I wonder. I'd be tempted. But at the face, I'm not sure. I mean, it's really tempting in some ways, but then I kind of think people who have look quite weird, don't they? And it is, in a way, it's sort of denying a truth.
You know, I teach in a comprehensive school young people from the ages of 11 to 18, and the sort of tyranny that I feel, you know, it's about, you know, how they've got to look, and, you know, some of them are thinking about, you know, plastic surgery even at the age of 16.
So I think if it was a cheap, safe, normal thing to do, I would probably have that done as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, losing my sex drive, that's something that I just don't want to happen. It's the awfulest thing to happen, I reckon. But then I don't, like, I reckon if you're with, like, if you've married someone and you proper love them, and you've stayed with them for the rest of your life, I reckon that's always going to be there, because you're used to it, kind of thing.
Why? I wouldn't even pierce another hole in my ear, let alone plastic surgery.
I wish I had the money for plastic surgery. Then I'd use it to do something else.
Immortality, what?
I think immortality, again, is so unnatural. That is playing God. I think it's important to have the circle of life. It's important for people to live and then die and then to pass on that generation, because that's...
I wouldn't like to be immortal than nobody else, because everybody around you would die and then you'd be lonely.
There's no point to living if you can't die.
Like, things are significant because they have a beginning and an end. If it's just constant, it's
nothing significant.
Yeah, exactly.
On death and dying. One of the recurring themes from my research was not a particular fear of death itself, but a powerful fear regarding the manner of death and about the care received leading up to dying. The fear of losing capacity and memory were almost universal. With a growing older population and the current much publicised crisis in healthcare for the elderly, this would seem to be a highly topical subject.
That's my other absolute horror, because of being involved with Alzheimer's Society, of me ending up in a care home, sitting in a row with a whole load of people in the same situation as me. I pray and hope that I will find some way of being able to stay in my own home, surrounded by people that I care and love.
Personally, if I knew that I was complete cabbage lying there, I would certainly want someone to bump me off.
Yes, yes, I agree with that.
Certainly. If it was something that I knew perfectly well, if I could speak up out of my and say, you know, I want to go now, I would say it. But it's too late then, because you've got to have got it written down. I mean, living will to a certain degree is help. Don't resuscitate me.
And I've got a list of things that I'm not going to be resuscitated for.
Oh, have you?
It's in the top.
But I don't know why people would want to live much longer lives.
I don't know, is it that maybe, you know, as we said before, if you live with old people, you know they come to a stage where they've had enough. So maybe it is that we're not living with old people enough to see that circle and to see that they need to move on, and we will as well. I mean, you know,
we have to make space for the younger ones coming.
You know, looking after my mother in the last couple of years and seeing her body, you're thinking, oh boy, this is the way it's going to go, isn't it? You know, you really think, oh God, because there's nothing, there isn't anything beautiful about a very old body.
Yeah.
I think wiping your father's bum is a bit of a rite of passage, really. Yeah. But then, you know, it's a huge care industry, so you know there are people out there wiping other parents' bums all the time, so why the hell shouldn't you wipe your own dad's bum?
I think it's from living in a certain way and feeling that we have a certain amount of control over things. We've lost our rituals, and these rituals teach us that everything comes full circle.
Visions of the future, legacy, regrets, and what is left behind. There was considerable discussion, particularly from the scientists and social scientists, about the challenges of a rising ageing population and the implications of this for the future, both scientifically and socially. People also alluded to the meaning of their lives and what they wanted to leave or what they feared leaving behind.
The project of neoliberalism, which focuses so much on individualism, means that kind of potentially there's a concern that people will not take on the care of their elders because they will see themselves as individuals. But equally, that kind of older people who have understood themselves in that very individualistic way will expect to be cared for, either through kind of their own pensions that they've built up or through kind of state mechanisms, and won't expect to have to draw on family resources.
So when I get to my 80s or 90s, I want to live independently, and I want my children to pop round and have a cup of tea and go off again, so to let me get on with my life. You know, I don't want it to be a big brother state or a nanny state. We need to be fit enough and well enough to live independently, but then also have the support so that when we do need help, it's there.